Okay, let's talk about something that's, well, it's really uncomfortable, but it's also one of the most important conversations we can possibly have. This is all about replacing that awful, paralyzing feeling of uncertainty with some real clarity and confidence. Let's jump right in. You know the situation, or you can at least imagine it. An adult is being friendly with a child you care about, but something in your stomach just clenches. It just feels off. So, how do you know? Is it a real threat, or are you just overreacting? That's exactly what we're here to tackle. We're going to give you the tools to answer that question with real confidence. And here's our game plan. First, we're going to nail down the single core difference between safety and risk. Then, we'll talk about what healthy, safe affection actually looks like so the bad stuff really stands out. From there, we'll get into the specific warning signs to watch for, the absolute most dangerous combination of behaviors, and finally, we'll wrap up with some really clear safety principles you can use immediately. So, how do we cut through all the noise and confusion? I know, it can feel totally overwhelming, like you're trying to analyze a million different little behaviors all at once, but here's the good news. It really all boils down to just one fundamental concept. And that dividing line, that one concept, is this word: sexualization. This is it. This is the absolute core of everything. You just have to ask yourself, is this adult's attention coming from a place of genuine care for the child as a whole person, or is it focused on them in a sexual way? Honestly, every single warning sign we're going to talk about stems directly from this. Once you learn to spot this, everything else just clicks into place. All right, so before we dive into all the red flags, we have to do something really, really important. We have to establish what's normal, what's healthy. Think of it like this. We're setting a baseline so that when something is wrong, it doesn't just feel a little off, it stands out like a sore thumb. At its heart, healthy affection is all about being protective. It's about genuinely enjoying who a child is, their weird jokes, their innocence, their energy, while your number one priority is always keeping them safe and happy. And physical contact? Sure, it's reasonable, a hug, holding hands, but, and this is crucial, it always respects the child's comfort level. If they pull away, you let go. And maybe most importantly, it happens out in the open. It doesn't hide. So, it really boils down to this. The entire mindset is that of a true caregiver. You know that feeling. Think of a loving grandparent, or that one amazing teacher you had, or a family friend you trust with anything. Their entire motivation is centered on the child's well-being, not on what they get out of it. And that's what safety feels like. Okay, so now we have our baseline for what's healthy and safe. Now let's flip the coin. Let's talk about the warning signs. These are those specific red flags that tell you when an adult's attention is shifting away from care and toward that big problem we identified, sexualization. A lot of the time, the first clues are in what people say. This goes way beyond saying a kid is cute. We're talking about specific, uncomfortable comments about their body or their appearance. And listen to this next part because it's a huge tell. A safe adult wants to protect a child's innocence. A dangerous person is often excited by it. That's a massive difference. Also, watch out for anyone who gets weirdly hostile or jealous of parents. That's a giant sign they see protectors as obstacles. Then you've got the behavioral red flags, which are pretty much all about crossing boundaries. This is the person who's always trying to get a kid alone, the person who ignores a child's discomfort or when they say no. They might use excuses, right? Oh, I'm just helping, or I just love kids, to justify behavior that is clearly not okay. And listen to me, if an adult ever tries to make a child keep a secret from you, that is a blaring five-alarm fire. It is a classic tool of isolation. So let's just put it all side by side for a second. The divide is pretty stark, isn't it? On one side, you have protective behavior that respects boundaries and happens out in the open. On the other side, you have sexualizing behavior that crosses boundaries and seeks out secrecy. It all comes down to that simple question of focus. Is it on the child's well-being or the adult's own gratification? Now, any single red flag is obviously a concern, but there is a specific combination of factors, a kind of toxic recipe that signals extreme danger. When you see these key elements together, it's time to stop wondering and start acting. It all starts with that foundation we identified, sexualization. The adult's focus just isn't on care, it's on something else entirely. Next, you add this to the mix: boundary crossing. This is when the person moves from just thinking or talking into action, actively ignoring rules to get closer to the child. And the final, critical ingredient is secrecy. This is the attempt to hide, to isolate the child,
or to create a special secret to avoid being caught.
So when you see those three things together, sexualization plus boundary crossing plus secrecy, the alarm bells have to go off. This combination signals an active and immediate risk. There is zero room for the benefit of the doubt here. This is a 5-alarm fire.
So, you know what to look for. The big question is, what do you do with this information? How do you turn recognizing a problem into actually taking action? Well, here are 3 clear, non-negotiable principles to guide you. First, trust your gut. That little feeling of unease in your stomach is your internal alarm system. It is so much better to be wrong and overly cautious than to be right and regret doing nothing. Second, always, and I mean always, prioritize the child's safety over an adult's feelings. Don't worry about offending someone or making a scene if a child is at risk. And third, when in doubt, create distance. You don't need a courtroom's worth of evidence. Your job isn't to prove guilt. Your job is to ensure safety. If it feels wrong, get the child out of there. Period. Let's just end on that second principle because it's truly the ultimate guide. If you remember nothing else from our time together, please remember this. A child's safety and their feeling of being safe trump everything else. It's not about being polite, it's about being protective.